trauma doesn't necessarily mean you had a bad upbringing. And trauma doesn't necessarily mean that there's one thing you can pinpoint. So the way I define trauma through my work is that I'm essentially saying trauma is an injury that required a response, a coping response. So that can be physical, that can be emotional, that can be mental, that can be parental, that can be environmental. My sister, who some of you have met at least virtually, who is 5 years younger than me, and who's just discovered all of this stuff, which is hilarious. She said to me the other day, she said, it's so funny. She says, I really think I want to do some stuff for women because, a lot of women are really not that connected with their femininity. And I was like, okay, good. She has like no clue what I'm doing really or anything like that. She was a housewife and raised 2 children and now she's like getting in there and she's like all excited about. And so she's just done the nonlinear training, which was hilarious because, yes, it was really funny. And she's very wonderful. She's very wonderful. And she had a really rough bout. She had some very, very aggressive breast cancer and very recently and really kind of went there. And so now she's had this big awakening of, her body and other people's bodies and stuff like that. So my sister, this is just a backstory, and I are from the same parents. And I don't even know how to say this. She's uncovering all the stuff that she finds very traumatic. And when you look at her behaviors and her life and how she is as a human, you would not think we were raised from the same parents. And I'm always like, as I said it the other day, I'm like, what is she traumatized about? With our parents, right? I mean, sibling stuff. I know what it is. Yeah, exactly. So what it is with her was that she had some environmental stuff, teachers and the way she was in school and how she was treated by other kids and things like that were very different than my experience. And also she has a very different nervous system. So for instance, if I would have to put my therapist hat on, I would say she has fairly strong attention deficit disorder, totally undiagnosed, right? And just always feeling like she can't get shit done, but always super busy and very stressed and stuff like that. So she has all those issues while I don't have those issues. I also have issues, but as any human, but they're not those issues, right? I relate to that, my upbringing and my parents in this very beatific, really relaxed way, and I'm also much more relaxed between the two of us. But so your trauma might not be something that was done to you in the upbringing or whatever. It might just be that your system is such that you had to do a whole lot of coping to be functional the way you were expected to be functional. Right? So does that ring a bell a bit? Yeah, well, I can see that. Yeah. So that's the thing that you look at, is somehow your biology or your neurophysiology required a whole lot of coping. And then when you do that much coping, you do other things to counteract that much coping. And so there's these layers of coping happening, right? You have to try something really, really hard. So then you're really, really tight. So then the only way that's going to loosen up is with some alcohol or some food or some sex or some shopping or whatever. And then, of course, that causes the next shit. And then you push harder and you clench harder and then you need more release. And that's how these things build. And so then you have these patterns of what I call maladaptive coping that layer. So then when you take the maladaptive coping above the maladaptive coping away, right, then you end up just with the maladaptive coping. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yes. So now you no longer, you used to cope and then cope by drinking or whatever. Now you just cope. So it's not really a pendulum, it's that you took a layer off. And what's below now is just coping. So you have your shit together, you have a tight grip on stuff, you know. Indeed, because you no longer have the other coping. Yeah, exactly. You have no crutches, and then it becomes a white knuckling, you know. And then when you get a relief from the white knuckling, in this system of layer upon layer upon layer, what's going to happen is you're going to feel so much either fatigue or emotion that you had to stuff to white knuckle it. And so there's really no reason to ever not cope, right? Because it's unpleasant. So the thing to do is to go under what it is that you are, what's the reason you have to cope, right? So whatever the reason is you have to cope, that's what you want to look at. Whatever that is, right? Could be beliefs, could be some patterning, could be, you know, like that your attention is going different places, all of that. So you look at that, and while you look at that, what you do is you create a different coping of the coping, and that's what you're doing here, right? So you go, okay, control, 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 heart, heart, tension, tension. I got done for the day, relax, 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 soft, play, different flavors, be a bit silly, come up with some rituals that don't involve shopping or alcohol, but tea, also shopping, but, you know, and rolling around on the floor with the puppies or whatever, right? So you essentially like do other coping that's better for you and that softens your body, and that allows you to have a little bit more space. And for you, I would say lots and lots of nonlinear and play, right? You should be as silly and weird and bizarre as you can be, right? Like I'd assign you all the light flavors of the deck to begin with, right? But not from a place of there's something wrong with you, but from a place of medicine. Right, you should be like all fluffy for an afternoon, not because there's something wrong, but because it's a medicine. It's as good a medicine as booze, but not as detrimental to your liver, right? And not out of control. You are curating the relaxation within your control. And then what happens, and this is one of these really miraculous things when it happens. And when it happens, you will know, because it's like, you've all had one of those moments where you're like, wow, I'm actually doing this. Right? You know, like you have this moment of, I'm okay, right? And that when that happens, you mark that and you go, yeah, I can actually be okay. I can actually have a moment of relaxation. It is possible to, and then what happens next is you get more functional. Because then suddenly your clench isn't as, you know, like holding on for dear life. It's just like you direct your attention, you get shit done, then you go play. Then you're relaxed, you bring that relaxation, which has a lot more energy, and you do your thing, right? Because you should have a lot more energy than you have, right? The way you're built, you should be like a furnace, but you're fairly low energy, and that has to do with the fact that you use all that energy to clench the fuck into your thing, right? And as you play, you'll free that energy up, and then that energy goes into doing the thing, and then you don't have to clench so hard while you're doing it. You can do it. You have all the tools, you know what to do. Yeah, but that's the thing to know, right? Is that there's nothing innately horrible about what you've done. It's just no longer the thing you want to do. You know. And so it's not a matter of the pendulum having to swing in the middle. It's a matter of you dismantling those coping things. Yeah. And then you can be anywhere you want to be, whenever you want to be. Then we come back to what I said to Tracy about the freedom. And once you determine those layers and you see the thing that's under the layer, you work on that parallel. And you just go, what's there? Then you attack it from both sides, so to speak, or you dissolve it from both sides. Well, the quick and dirty answer is by knowing where you begin and end and where somebody else begins and ends. So that's it's really it's you. Where's the line in the sand? You can still connect. You can still be as loving and as deep and as open. It's just that you let's see how I can describe this. You're even actually more there because you don't have to protect so hard, right? So it's essentially you go till here and not further. That's the feeling. Mm-hmm. And then from knowing where your boundary is, you can go, and then if somebody goes further than this, there's the boundary. Mm-hmm. But till then, everything goes. And then when that moment comes, then it's enough. Right? Then there's the boundary. So, but for that, you need to know where your boundary is. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, subtle body, you'll know. We'll actually do this in the next thing. You can train yourself and feel what that's like. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, we have 5 minutes left. Let's do it.